Hi everyone, I'm Rennie, a mixed media artist. Happy New Year. I'm here in the bowels of our basement where my studio is, and coming on here to share my latest video of the process of making these sort of long haul gel prints that have a very organic feel to them. Um, Mixing metallics and different layers of paint. And so really the key to this is just being patient and letting each layer dry before going and applying the next layer. So I just wanted to share these prints that I made a little while ago, and also try to get my face on here more often. It's something that's a little challenging for me to do. So I had to sort of be a little bit more brave about this, and taking the time to share. I've just benefited so much from other people's YouTube videos, and how other people have helped inspire me in my own creativity. So a great big thank you to all you other YouTuber artists that are sharing your process, your struggles, your breakthroughs, and everything, all the good stuff in between. So without further ado, here is the process video for these long haul gel prints. Enjoy. Any feedback or comments are always welcome, hoping that they're on the more positive side. So I hope this video inspires you. Thank you so much for watching. So here on my table, I have a 12 by 14 gel plate along with 3 8 by 10s. The 3 smaller gel plates already have a few layers of paint on them. And on the larger one, this is the second one that I'm doing now. I just wanted to show you how it started out. I just removed that. For some reason, there was a silicone mat underneath my gel plate and it was in the way. So I just got rid of that. So it's really just starting with a layer of paint, fairly thinly applied, and then I often roll off any excess onto one of the other plates. This is one of the reasons why I like to work with multiple plates. I'm lucky enough to have a bunch of them because I teach this as a workshop, so it's just nice to work with a bunch of gel plates at once. So once that layer of paint's down, I go in with this big paintbrush. It's just a cheap paintbrush I got from the hardware store, dampened and then dragged across the surface. And you can do whatever. You can do, curvy lines. Here I'm just choosing to do some straighter lines. And then just having enough water so that it starts to bead up. If you notice, the first application of paint beaded up quite a bit on the larger plate. On the smaller plates, I already have some paint on there, so the paint will tend to bead less and less as you start to build up the layers. So I have some of my gel plates placed on acrylic sheets so that I can see the reverse side. It's really helpful for this technique because I often forget what layer I've put on before, and as you notice, the layer that's facing down looks very different from the back side of the plate. So here I've added on another coat of paint, letting that bead up a little bit. And sometimes instead of using the brush, I'll just spritz some water on. So it really depends. I mean, it's really up to the artist's discretion on how you want to explore this. See, looking on the back here to try and decide what color paint I want to layer on next. So there's probably about 3 or 4 layers of paint here already on these smaller plates. And then the larger plate, this is a print that I did before, the one where I was applying the first layer. And that one's pretty much ready for its final layer. So just trying to decide here what my next action is, whether I want to put the final coat of paint for the a final pull or whether I want to layer on more. Sometimes it's nice to be able to see through a little bit, so you can either choose to put a gel medium to do the lift or a paint layer. I love working with metallics in this technique. That you often get sort of a patinaed metal sense, or, you know, rusty metal, or just something sort of grungy and organic looking. I use a lot of these prints as backgrounds for some of my mixed media paintings. I use them for all types of things. So when I'm getting a little bored with the reserve of prints that I have, I'll come back to the gel plates and come up with some new ideas or get inspired by other creatives on how to create these beautiful mono prints. Because really there's an endless choice of things to do with the gel plates. They're so versatile and really amazing to work with. Choosing a flat gray here. I like the way the Amsterdam paints work with the gel plates. But I've really sort of explored with all types of paints. So moving to this next one that's really more earthy toned. As you can see, there's a little bit of a grayish blob there. A little disappointed with this print– I hadn't cleaned the plate, and I usually don't clean my plates, but in this particular instance I probably should have. I did an image transfer of Claude Monet, and I used soft pastels, and some of the soft pastel residue stayed on the plate. So unfortunately it did lift with the print on this plate. So you'll see that a little more clearly when I lift the print. So again, here you don't necessarily have to use a paintbrush. You can use whatever you want, right? The trick really is to let each coat of paint dry in between. And because I'm using a lot of water, sometimes these prints may need to get sealed with acrylic medium when I'm using them in a collage. So I just have to be mindful of that when I'm working with them. And then here on the 12 by 14, I'm just assessing here as to whether I want to add more paint, but because there's so much coverage with the layers I have down there now, I'm ready to do the final pull on this, just trying to decide what color to use. Because some of the paints are transparent. So just trying to decide what would be the best fit. I really like this soft blue-gray color from Amsterdam. I don't remember the name of that color. I might be able to find it here. Bluish gray light. Trying to pick out something there on the surface. Most likely cat hair because we have 3 cats. So like it or not, I will have cat hair in most of my creations. So making sure I've got a good amount of paint for my final pull. It's always better to have a nice, even, a little bit thicker layer to help pull up all of those previous layers that went down. And to lift that, I'm using tea bag paper. I fell in love with tea bag paper a while ago. I think it was Jane Monteith where I first heard about tea bag paper. And I buy it by the roll on Amazon. I just love that it pulls the paint so beautifully, but also is very thin but robust at the same time. So I'm showing this in real time just because that's how stuck on it is. It's really taking some effort to pull it. I want to pull it slowly, of course, as well, to make sure that it doesn't tear. It's really quite stuck, especially on the edges. But look at all that gorgeous texture. And you gotta love the shimmery quality of the metallic paints. At least I do. So that's a good size print. I am still very tempted to get a larger gel plate for some of my larger pieces. Still on the fence about that. So here's a close-up of that print. Look at all that lovely texture, detail, all the layers. So here, while I was waiting for the 8x10 plates to dry, adding another layer of paint to the 12x14 plate, which is the one I worked on right after the one I just pulled. So again, that's the beauty of working with multiple plates, is while one is drying, you can be working on another one. There's no really, I guess, recipe or whatever to the paint choices. I try to maybe alternate to have some good values, so alternating between light and dark colors, metallics and flats. And now I am deciding to put the final layer of paint down on the three smaller plates. This is my little box that I also got on Amazon for, it's a dispenser for, I guess, any kind of paper, but it's really great for the tea bag paper, because I can just grab it and take a piece. The cutter doesn't work super well, but well enough. So as anybody else who's worked with a gel plate before, often the most exciting part, especially if you're working on long haul prints, is getting that final layer of paint down. And then, of course, the wonderful reveal. Never 100% sure of what you're going to get, even if you do have your gel plate on an acrylic sheet. So making sure I have a nice even coat there, coming in with the tea bag paper. Smoothing it a little bit with my hands, but also coming in. This is actually one of those paperweight magnifiers. I have a brayer, but for whatever reason, I just like the feel of this. It's got a nice heavy weight to it. I don't really have to push down, just glide it across the surface. So these have to sit for a little bit once the paper's down. I don't think I've ever left them overnight. I'll probably leave them down for about an hour or so. Once you become more familiar with gel printing, you'll start to feel the temperature and have a better sense of when is the best time to pull a print. In the wintertime, it's a little bit warmer indoors with the central heating, so I find that they have a tendency to dry a little more quickly. Look at that beautiful metallic silver. It looks like a sheet of aluminum. And that, I believe, is a Liquitex fluid paint, which I just got recently. Liquitex Basic Acrylic Fluid, it's called, and this is the silver. These seem to work very well also on the gel plates. They have a really nice selection of transparent colors as well. Making sure I've got full contact there. You can really see the sort of gray blob there on the bottom. Changed my mind here, moved from the gold to the copper color. This is I think that's which one is that? It's the Liquitex Basic Acrylics in metallic burnt orange, I believe. Getting that final paper down. And so I have to wait for these to dry a little bit, and I didn't have the patience to wait for the paint to dry on the larger plate. I went in, which is fine too, right? We're always experimenting with different techniques, and so I went in here with another color before the Payne's Gray had completely dried, and it's sort of giving a nice little mix there. Here, instead of using the paintbrush, I'm just spritzing on a little bit of water. And now all these are dry enough to pull the print. Again, I'm showing this in real time just to show, just after an hour with this paper, how well it's pulling really everything. And whatever you do see there is just residual. There you can see that's the image that transferred onto my print, the leftover image transfer that I did of Claude Monet for a gel print workshop that I was teaching. So still lovely, wonderful earthy tones. Definitely going to use this for something at some point. But probably a good idea to, when I'm using something other than acrylic paint, to clean my plate before starting a new project. This one was giving me a little bit of trouble. The paint was quite thick on the edges, so I had to be really careful that it didn't rip. But all through the middle, it was wonderful. It pulled beautifully. Nothing remained on the plate at all. So another one of the pluses of using the tea bag paper. It absorbs quickly, absorbs well, and dries quickly. I've also used what's called carnival paper or wet strength tissue paper. But this is really my favorite paper to work with, especially in collage. I'm just trying to loosen up the edges a little bit because that's where they seem to stick the most. So this one has more of a green tone to it. This is my favorite, I think, of this series of prints. The anticipation. But why is it that whenever you're lifting a print, it's like Christmas morning? Even when the results are unexpected, it's just, I don't know, there's just something about it. And there you have it. Really love this one. So these are the 3 smaller prints, and I will be showing you some photos of these and then some close-ups of some of the sections. So I will forever see Monet's hat in this one. This is the green one that's my favorite. I can't wait to use that. This is the larger one, the 12 by 14, and this is the smaller 8 by 10. It's really happy with the results. And here's just a little bit of an extra add-on here. I was at the same time working the same technique, layering and adding water, but on a silicone mat to create what's called acrylic skins. So lifting without the paper, right? So you have accumulate enough paint so that it's thick enough to be able to pull it away from the surface without it ripping. pulling this away from the silicone mat is just one of the most satisfying things. Like as you see me run the knife along the edge, it's hard to explain how satisfying that is. If you were a kid in school and spread white glue all over your palm, let it dry and pulled it off, I guess it would be similar to that. And I did 2 of these on silicone mats, so 2 sets of acrylic skins. Just keeping in mind that these need to be stored carefully. You can't stack them one on top of each other because they'll stick together. So I roll them up individually in wax paper. And they are also beautiful to work with in collage. So the 2 silicone mats that I used had sort of different surfaces. This silicone mat had more of a matte surface. And as you'll see in the next one, the other silicone mat I used had a very glossy side. And even though I used the same types of paint, it was interesting to see how the surface of this acrylic skin has more of a satin finish, and you'll see the next one has really a high gloss finish. So in order to make these stronger, what I would do is after layering the paint, letting it bead, letting it dry, between each layer I would put a layer of matte medium just to give it a little bit more strength. And the beauty of these also is you can use them on either side. So this one has more of a texturized sort of a cell structure or beaded look, and then the back side, because of the final couple of coats of paint I put, has more of a smooth, I don't know, I would call it a watery side. So here's the other silicone mat that I used, and as you'll see when I start to pull this up, it's very glossy. I had some residual gold leaf or imitation gold leaf left over on this, so that was also pulled up in this acrylic skin. So again, that wonderful satisfaction of lifting this away. And how the palette knife just runs so smoothly along the edge. It's the little things, isn't it? So as you can see, look at the high gloss of this. Really interesting. I love the way this one turned out. It's got lots of texture, lots of different things happening in it. Not sure what I'll use it for yet, but I'm sure I'll think of something. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and it inspired you to try something new, try something different. I hope it inspires you. Well, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to leave any comments, ideas, and if you feel inspired to do so, please like and subscribe. See you next time.